Hey, this is Tyler from Luca Brasi, and right now you're tuned to the Moshpit on Sin.
Luca Brasi are a punk band from Tasmania who recently released their third studio album, If This Is All We're Going to Be, and will be touring the country in August. On the line we have frontman Tyler Richardson. Thanks for being on the show, Tyler.
Mate, absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No worries, mate. So for those who haven't heard you, how would you describe Luca Brasi?
I guess we're like a mid-tempo rock and roll band. I guess we're still hanging on to our punk influence a fair bit, but I guess that's kind of how I describe us these days.
So maybe at the start were you more of a punk band, or have you like maybe developed into more of just a general rock band?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we all started out. I guess we started out as a punk band. That was basically what we were doing at the time. None of us had really been in any bands before this, and we kind of just went with what we knew at the time, and we still do. I guess we grew up listening to punk rock, and we still that's kind of still who we are. But I think that maybe over time it's evolved a little bit into something a little bit more melodic than you'd expect from a usual punk band.
Well, with that in mind, when you're recording, do you perhaps abandon good songs that may not suit the band's sound, or what fans expect Luca Brasi to be, or what you expect Luca Brasi to be? Yeah, totally, man. This record, I think we had about 25 songs to choose from and take apart before we went, before we got into the studio. And the whole point of this record was to try and write a pretty coherent sort of record, and that actually, yeah, like you said, it meant taking apart ones that weren't necessarily going to fit the record. Not so much with who we think we are, but just the theme we're going for with this record for sure. So what are you going to do with the songs on the cutting room floor in the vault? Are they going to be perhaps on the next album, or maybe some sort of compilation or bonus tracks, or even maybe in TV shows or movies?
I have no idea. We've actually just started writing the next record.
I've already started the next record.
Sure, yeah, we're going to try and use our time as wisely as possible. We've had a little bit of downtime, so in between rehearsing and getting ready for all these tours and everything, we've been trying to get some new ideas together. But I'm sure elements of those old songs will pop up in the new ones, as they quite often do for us. We end up, pulling a bit of stuff out of the bin and giving it a little refurb and dusting it off and making something new.
Awesome. So can you take us back to the origin story of the band?
Yeah, okay. So we all grew up together on the east coast of Tassie at a little town called St Helens. We played in bands when we were in high school, as I imagine a lot of people do. Kind of went our separate ways. Two of us moved to Hobart, two moved to Lonnie. Tom and I hang out in Launceston a lot and started writing some songs on acoustic guitar. We were a different incarnation of the band. There was a couple of different members, a couple of Lonnie guys for the first record. As we got into doing the second one, we picked up Pat on guitar and Danny took over on drums. And this is who we are now. The four of us were still the same. We still went to the same school and grew up together, so it's pretty awesome, man, to stay together after 20 plus years sort of thing.
How did you get yourself into music, Tyler?
I'm pretty sure that basically my whole love for music was inspired by my parents and mainly my dad. I can still remember coming home from school and running through the house and listening to the record skip on the thing and just going, I can't jump in the house, you got to scratch all the records. And so there's always music sort of playing at my house and in the cars, and I started playing guitar when I was about maybe 11 years old, and I guess that's how I started out in music.
So what were those earlier records that you were listening to?
The early stuff that I come home to all the time, there's always a lot of Sabbath. Dad's a huge Led Zeppelin fan, Pink Floyd fan, bands like that from that era are still the bands that Dad listens to. Guys like Neil Young, and bands that I like now that I did a lot more than for sure. So
we're going to talk about more in depth about the album, Is This All We're Going to Be? So I understand it took a long time because you were recording it while you were touring?
Yeah, we actually wrote the whole thing on and off the road, but we had about a 3-week gap in our schedule, and we were back home in Tassie, still working and studying full-time and doing the record sort of in the afternoons and into the early morning, and then going back to work or studying, doing a little repeat. So we did about 3 weeks of that to finish the record, and it was a pretty gnarly experience in a way to do it, but it kind of means that we can have that time blacked out to be back on the road rather than, have a month completely off, our real life, and do the record. We can do that sort of that way, stay at work, stay at school, and save that time to be back on the road.
Now you're touring the country in August, so what's a Luca Brasi show like?
Hot and sweaty, quite a loud audience, a lot of people having a good time.
Do you get those mosh pits going?
Yeah, there's been some pretty wild shows in the past, yeah. So this is the first tour we stepped up to to some bigger venues, stuff like the Corner and the Zoo and stuff like that. So we're pretty interested to see how these bigger shows are going to change the the interaction between the audience and the crowd. But our goal is to try and keep it as tight and personal as possible.
So Moose Blood are a pretty big band over in the UK. So did you choose them to be part of the tour?
Yeah, I mean, we had a list of bands that we wanted to bring out to come and tour with us, and they were top of our list. We got in contact through some channels, and basically it just worked out, and we're going to end up going back over with them about 2 weeks later for about 5 weeks to tour the UK and Europe too.
Oh, will that be your first international tour?
That was our first European and UK run, yeah. We actually were in China last year for a crazy week of shows. But yeah, this is our second international run, I guess, other than that.
Okay, so what were the Chinese... Because a lot of bands actually don't go to... I don't think a lot of bands tour in China, so what was the Chinese audience like? Different.
It was awesome. I mean, they're so welcoming and friendly, but it was just a totally different vibe. Like, you finish a song and look around and be like, it kind of go dead silent. You're like, oh man, they hate this. This hasn't gone down well, and they just be waiting for you to be completely finished so they know they could applaud and get wild in that little gap. It was really different. But the whole the way they interact with you as a band is far different than anywhere else we've played.
Yeah, so it's almost like they're really, really polite.
Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's a big part of their culture. And the first song we finished, we were like, oh no, this isn't going down well at all. And then once they realised we'd stopped, it was crazy. So the shows are really cool. It's a very different vibe.
Okay, so speaking of international, so what you'll be touring Europe. So what attention have you received from fans outside of Australia?
It's definitely growing as we've been going along. But probably the most attention we've ever received has been the last month since this record came out. We've just signed a UK and European record deal too. So hopefully things are going from there, and it looks like they are. Especially with this tour, these guys are so big over there. These shows are going to be awesome. Awesome.
Now, you picked the Heartaches from Adelaide as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They're good mates of ours from a long time ago. We've known Ben, the lead singer, for ages, on and off, hanging out, doing shows together, and those guys are killing it. They're a great band and great dudes, so it's great to have them on board as well.
So, as of course Tasmania is not part of the mainland, has that made things a bit more difficult when you're starting out, or even today?
Yeah, it's starting out for sure, man. It's not like a lot of bands from Melbourne or Sydney can pick up a support show and go and play down the road at a big venue with a big band, and come away with no money or a small amount of money, and it's okay because you live so close. But in the early days, $1,000 to go and play a support one-off sort of thing isn't really the most, isn't really what you can do when you just, you're not a band, you don't really have any money together as a band. So that was difficult at first, but we just kind of wore that and just kept going back and going back and going back till people paid some attention to us and a bit more notice. So we're really lucky with the fan base we've built over that time.
What's the music scene like in Tasmania?
Rad. There's some really awesome bands that come out of Tassie. I mean, not every single band goes on and crosses that barrier and tries to, get out of the island as it were. But there's some great bands here. When I was coming up, when I was like 18 or 19, there was the most awesome group of punk rock bands that really influenced us.
Can you name some of those great Tassie bands?
Yeah, sure. A band called The Scandal out of Hobart, Ballpoint out of Hobart, Stand Defiant from Hobart. There's some other rad, different sort of bands coming out now. There's a band called The Saxons from Lonnie that are really cool, and another band called Sumner, which we're all digging to at the moment, which is a different vibe than what we do, but they're an awesome band all the same. Now,
finally, the last question is, the new album came out earlier this year, so what's your favourite song and why? And what's maybe the story behind it?
I'm pretty sure at the moment Cascade Blues is my favourite song off the record. It's the one that I've been loving rehearsing to. I mean, the record came out 3 weeks ago, so we haven't really had the chance to play a lot of these songs. So we're actually about to go out on the road with Smith Street Band next week for the rest of June. So it'll be great to road test some of these songs. But Cascade Blues is kind of like a bit of a slow burner for us, and it builds up, and it's got a really big outro to it. So we're really looking forward to playing this on live. Awesome.
Well, Luca Brasi will be touring around the country for their If This Is All We're Going to Be tour, supporting their album of the same name, and they'll be performing with Moose Blood and the Heartaches. The Melbourne show will be in the Corner Hotel on the 27th of August. Thanks so much, Tyler from Luca Brasi, for joining us.
Thank you, mate. It's been a pleasure.